So, what does it actually take to build a cloud accounting tool that thousands of US small businesses, can't live without? Well, today we're going to break down the exact blueprint from that first spark of an idea all the way to launch and beyond. And you know what? That's a massive question. We're talking about building something that people literally trust with their financial health. That's a huge responsibility. But the good news is, the path to getting it right, it really just comes down to a clear, actionable strategy. And that's exactly what we're going to walk through in the next few minutes. Okay, so first things first. Why now? Why is this such a big deal right now? Well, it's because the ground is literally shifting under the feet of American small businesses. And if you want to build a successful product, you have to understand the earthquake that's causing this shift. Think about it. For decades, the reality for a small business was either some clunky desktop program or, even worse, a bunch of spreadsheets that were just begging for errors. Well, that era, it's officially over. Modern businesses operate in real time, right? They expect their financial tools to keep up. So this isn't just some small upgrade we're talking about. It's a complete reimagination of the entire financial back office. And really, this visual just says it all, doesn't it? On the left, you're chained to a desk, you're drowning in paperwork. But on the right, you have the freedom to run your business from literally anywhere. That is the core promise of cloud accounting. It's about less manual work, having way more confidence in your numbers, and at the end of the day, being able to make smarter decisions and make them faster. Okay, so the opportunity is crystal clear. But listen, before you even think about writing a single line of code, you have to lay the foundation. And that means deeply, deeply understanding who you're building for, and, just as important, the rules they absolutely have to play by. And what's so crucial to understand here is that small businesses in the US, they aren't asking for some flashy, futuristic AI feature. No, they're asking for solutions to their biggest, most annoying headaches. Getting these basics right is everything. Take something like automating state-specific sales tax. That's not just a feature. For a small business trying to navigate 50 different rulebooks, it is an absolute lifesaver. And then you've got the absolute non-negotiables. We're talking compliance and security. Remember, you're handling people's financial lives. That means being ready for the IRS for sure, but most importantly, it means protecting their data like it's Fort Knox. That's where something like SOC 2 compliance comes in. You can think of it as a super rigorous, independent audit that proves your systems are secure. It's not just some fancy badge you put on your website. It is the absolute foundation of trust. All right, so with that solid foundation of user needs and all the rules in place, it's finally time to actually build the thing. So let's walk through the blueprint for turning all that understanding into a real, functioning product. Okay, your journey starts with the MVP. The minimum viable product. Look, this is a classic startup concept for a very good reason. You have to resist that urge to build everything at once. Instead, you need to focus, laser focus, on the one or two features that solve the most painful problem for your users. Get it into their hands, listen really carefully to their feedback, and prove to yourself that you're building something people actually want. So after you've launched that MVP, your product roadmap starts to unfold in these really logical phases. At the very beginning, it's all about that core functionality. Simple. Once you've absolutely nailed that, you move into the growth phase. And this is where you start to add real leverage through things like automation and key integrations, like payroll. And then finally, you hit the scaling phase. Now you're thinking bigger, about larger customers, which means you need rock-solid performance and more advanced features. See how each step just prepares you for the next? But here's the thing, none of this works without a rock-solid technical foundation. As the quote says, you've got to be scalable and secure. It's non-negotiable. This is exactly why most startups build on cloud platforms like AWS or Azure. It's all about making a choice on day one that ensures your platform doesn't crash right when your customers need it the most. Like at the end of a super busy quarter. Okay, so building a great product, that's only half the battle, seriously. Now you have to turn that product into a thriving business. And this requires a completely different but equally important kind of strategy. So, turning a great product into a great business, it really requires a strategy built on these 4 pillars. Think about it. Ironclad security, that builds trust. A smooth user experience, or UX, that creates loyalty. A smart pricing model, make sure you can actually stick around. And a go-to-market plan, well, that's what creates growth. The real challenge, of course, is making all of these things work together in perfect harmony. Let's just focus on user experience for a second, because this one thing can absolutely make or break your entire business. A small business owner is always short on time. If they log into your platform and feel overwhelmed or confused, they are gone forever. That's why an intuitive dashboard and a super simple setup aren't just nice to haves. They are absolutely essential for keeping the customers you worked so hard to get in the first place. So, how do you even know if any of this is actually working? Simple. You measure it. Think of these metrics right here as the vital signs of your business. You've got MRR, your monthly recurring revenue, which basically tracks your predictable growth. But that growth is pretty meaningless if your churn rate is high, because that's just customers leaving out the back door. The goal is to get a really low churn, which leads to a high LTV, or customer lifetime value. And the one thing that predicts all of this? User engagement. If people are actively using your product day in and day out, you know you're on the right track. Okay, we have covered a lot of ground, right? From that initial concept all the way to a full-blown growth strategy. So now let's bring it all together and boil it down to the key takeaways from this whole blueprint. So let's start this wrap-up with a healthy dose of reality. Building that first version, that MVP we talked about, it isn't some impossible multi-year project. Not at all. A focused team can actually launch it in just 3 to 6 months. Hopefully that makes this whole thing feel much more achievable. Think of it as a powerful sprint that gets you to the starting line of the real marathon, which is building a lasting business. Look, if you only remember one thing from all of this, let it be this right here. Success in this space really just comes down to 4 things. Solve a real, painful problem. Obey the rules and stay compliant. Protect your users' data like your life depends on it. And make your tool incredibly easy to use. Everything else, literally everything else, builds on top of this foundation. The opportunity here is just massive. We're talking about helping millions of small businesses not just survive, but actually thrive by giving them better financial tools. We've laid out the blueprint for you. The path is clear. So the final question, it isn't really about the market or the tech, it's about you. With this blueprint, what will you build?